Tuesday, 11 in the morning. The kind of time that looks harmless until it detonates your life. I was seated behind a slab of Italian marble on the 90th floor of the Sterling Spire, the tower I had imagined, financed, and bled into existence. The city below looked orderly from up here, a grid of obedience in glass stretching toward the lake. The air was climate perfect, engineered to never remind you that the outside world existed. It smelled faintly of ozone, polished steel, and espresso strong enough to wake the dead. My tablet chimed. Not an alert from the building's core systems. This one came from the boutique in the lobby, the luxury shoe store I had personally approved after rejecting 6 others for being off-brand. That alone caught my attention. I opened the live feed. High definition, no lag, no mercy. There stood my mother-in-law, Cynthia Hayes, draped in entitlement like it was couture. In her manicured hand was my black card. Not a black card, the one. $60,000 limit, no preset spending cap, emergency access only, which I had granted during a moment of misplaced generosity 3 Christmases ago. Beside her lounged Chloe. I recognized her instantly, Brandon's junior associate. She had laughed too loudly at his jokes during company dinners, leaned too close when pouring his wine, worn ambition like perfume, sweet and synthetic and overpowering. Her finger traced the air toward a pair of red-soled heels priced higher than my first car. Cynthia chuckled, leaning in conspiratorially, patting the girl's arm as if sealing a deal between old friends. The audio feed cut through perfectly. "Don't worry about Alexis," Cynthia said, amusement dripping from every syllable. "She's just the property manager. My son runs this building. He lets her play with paperwork so she feels useful." I did not blink, did not gasp, did not tighten my jaw. I picked up the tablet. My thumb hovered over one button, suspend all access, just long enough to appreciate the irony of a woman calling me useless while holding a financial weapon I controlled. Then I pressed it. What followed was not anger, it was execution. Protocol 0 was not emotional, it was architectural. I opened the master control application for the Sterling Spire, custom software I had coded during construction because I never trusted vendors with power. It granted omnipotence over financial systems, transport authorization, biometric access, environmental controls. God mode. First came liquidity. I accessed the joint accounts, not to freeze them, but to initiate a Level 7 security lockdown, a protocol reserved for cyber breaches and internal theft. Every account tied to the Hayes name was flagged as compromised. In the lobby, the terminal in Cynthia's hand would now be flashing a hard decline. No warning, no explanation. I imagined the precise shade of red creeping up her neck, clashing beautifully with the imaginary wealth she thought she owned. Second came mobility. I pulled up valet records. Brandon's Aston Martin, leased under Sterling Architecture's fleet account, sat idling in the VIP lane. He liked it visible, a performance piece, something loud enough to announce success before he ever spoke. I opened a secure channel to head of security. Vehicle license plate Bravo Echo 7 is unauthorized. Tow to impound immediately. No release without my biometric authorization. 2 minutes later, the feed showed my security team, professionals I paid well to be discreet, surrounding the car. The valet handed over the keys, baffled. The tow truck rolled in, efficient and silent. Brandon was not just losing transportation, he was losing identity. Finally came access, the private elevator, Cynthia's favorite indulgence, direct lobby to penthouse, no waiting, no sharing air with people she considered beneath her. I opened her profile. Authorization level, family. Deleted. Reclassified, guest restricted. Then Brandon. 4 minutes. 240 seconds. That was all it took to strip them of money, movement, and privilege. The office went silent again. Below me, chaos was blooming. Up here, the servers hummed calmly, processing a new truth. I was not a wife uncovering betrayal. I was a CEO terminating a failed investment. And I was just warming up. The silence lingered as I leaned back into my chair, turning slightly to face the Chicago skyline. This city was not just steel and glass, it was my signature. I had bent zoning boards, reshaped skylines, forced gravity into obedience. The Sterling Spire was not a building, it was a declaration. And yet inside its walls I had allowed myself to become invisible. For 5 years I had played the role, the supportive wife, the quiet presence beside Brandon as he introduced himself as a developer. I corrected assumptions gently when I bothered at all. I smiled as Cynthia bragged about her son's brilliance, knowing his greatest skill was spending money he had not earned. I paid Brandon $18,000 a month, not because he deserved it, because I needed it. Camouflage. I closed my eyes as the truth surfaced, cold, precise, undeniable. I had not been fooled. I had not been naive. I was Alexis Sterling. I did not stumble into mistakes. I engineered them. Brandon was not my partner. He was my purchase. I had evaluated my life with the same precision I applied to acquisitions. Brutal hours, relentless scrutiny, the isolation of being a woman at the summit of a male-dominated industry. I did not want power struggles at home. I did not want competition over dinner. I wanted ease. Someone photogenic, charming, grateful, a trophy husband, a human buffer against loneliness and the judgment of people who could not understand why a woman with everything would choose to have it alone. At least she has a husband, they would whisper. She cannot be that cold. Brandon was my proof of normalcy, and Cynthia completed the tableau. I tolerated her entitlement because it made the story believable. The doting mother-in-law, the family dinners, the holiday photographs. But I made a fatal calculation. I assumed gratitude would bind them. I assumed money purchased loyalty. Instead, it purchased contempt. They did not respect me because I never required it. I paid for obedience, and, like any neglected authority, I received theft. The realization did not break me, it clarified me. This was not betrayal, it was a bad hire, and bad hires do not receive second chances. I opened my eyes. The city glittered below like a circuit board coming to life. I was not going to mourn. I was going to liquidate. My phone erupted on the desk. Cynthia, calling from the lobby. I let it ring twice before answering on speaker. Alexis. Her voice shattered the calm. What is happening? The card was declined in front of important people. Important? I said mildly. The 24-year-old you were purchasing shoes for? Silence. Then sputtering. She is an associate of Brandon's. You forgot to pay the bill, didn't you? You incompetent girl. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is for the family? I forgot nothing, I said. I canceled the card. You did what? A text buzzed through. Brandon. What the hell, Lexi? My car just got towed. They said you authorized it. Fix this now. I have a lunch meeting in 10 minutes. I glanced at the message, then back to Cynthia's panicked breathing. I also revoked your elevator pass, I added calmly. You are currently trespassing. This is my son's building. He built it. You are just the decorator. Delusion fully weaponized. I am not coming down, I said, and Brandon is busy figuring out rideshare. You are destroying this family. When Brandon arrives, tell him to check his email. Penthouse, 8 o'clock. Do not be late. I ended the call. The silence returned, but now it vibrated with potential energy. They were not annoyed anymore. They were scared, and they still did not understand the scale. I crossed the room to the wall safe hidden behind an abstract painting, entered the code, my birthday, a date Brandon had forgotten 3 years in a row. Inside sat order, documents, truth. I pulled out a leather-bound binder labeled Hayes Family Trust, the fraud he had asked me to sign. I had not. Instead, my lawyers had drafted a post-nuptial agreement detailing ownership down to individual light fixtures. Brandon had signed it blindly, trusting that paperwork from his wife was mere formality, never imagining the woman he dismissed as a decorator understood contract law better than his attorneys. Next to the binder sat a velvet jewelry box. Inside rested the family heirlooms: diamond necklace, emerald earrings, priceless, according to Cynthia, except they were not. I had known for years. Their wealth was mythology. The genuine pieces had been pawned decades ago to cover debts Cynthia never discussed. I had discovered the truth during a routine insurance audit and replaced them quietly, replicas. And now she was planning to sell them. I returned to my desk and rewound the security feed. 10 minutes before the decline. Cynthia leaned close to Chloe, whispering conspiratorially. "As soon as Alexis is out," she said, eyes gleaming with certainty, "everything finally belongs to us." And that was when I smiled. I let the footage continue. "We will move you into the penthouse," Cynthia murmured, her voice slick with anticipation. "It needs a woman's touch. Alexis has it looking like a hospital room." Chloe giggled, already picturing herself there. "We can sell a few heirlooms if we need quick cash, just enough to hire lawyers and push her out. Those emeralds alone should fetch 50,000. Chloe's eyes widened with greed she did not bother to hide. "Brandon says the building is worth millions," she whispered. "We will be set for life." I closed the laptop. There it was, the fallacy laid bare. Not love, not loyalty, sunk cost. Cynthia was not protecting her son, she was protecting the story she had spent decades constructing, the myth of the Hayes dynasty. Admitting the truth, that her wealth was fabricated, her son incompetent, and her lifestyle subsidized by the woman she despised, would shatter the only identity she had ever known. She would rather burn herself alive defending a lie than live one honest minute inside reality. Those heirlooms were her imagined parachute, her legal war chest, her last illusion of leverage. I slipped the jewelry box into my bag, then the binder, then a thumb drive containing every second of footage and audio, truth, receipts, and consequences, neatly portable. It was time to go home. The elevator ride to the penthouse was silent, the kind of silence that precedes transformation. The doors opened onto the vast living room, floor-to-ceiling glass framing the city like a crown of light. They were already there. Brandon and Cynthia occupied the white leather sofa as if holding court. Brandon looked wrecked, tie loosened, hair disheveled, sweat clinging to the confidence he usually wore like armor. Cynthia paced the perimeter, clutching a glass of wine I had been saving for a milestone worth celebrating. "You are here," Brandon said, standing quickly. He attempted authority, but his voice cracked under the weight. "We need to talk, Lexi. This behavior is erratic, freezing accounts, locking my mother out. You are acting unstable." "Sit down, Brandon," I said quietly. I did not raise my voice. I did not need to. I walked past them and placed a black folder on the dining table. "Both of you." Cynthia squinted at it. "Is this an apology?" "Sit." This time it was not a request. They obeyed. The air shifted like pressure before a storm makes itself known. "I am not here to apologize. I am here to explain your status in this building." I plugged the thumb drive into the wall panel, the massive screen illuminated. Cynthia's voice filled the room with recorded certainty. "We will move you into the penthouse. Those emeralds alone should bring 50,000. Brandon went pale. Cynthia gasped.
That was taken out of context. It was joking, banter. Banter about selling my property to fund a lawsuit against me, I asked, calmly. How charming. I paused the screen. Let us discuss the heirlooms. I opened the velvet box. Cynthia's fear flickered across her face before greed surged back. Those you stole, they belong to the family. These? I lifted the necklace, letting it dangle and catch the light. Cubic zirconia, silver-plated alloy, purchased on Canal Street for $300. The room froze. Brandon whispered, "What?" "Your mother pawned the genuine pieces in 1998. Gambling debt. I replaced them before the wedding so you wouldn't be humiliated." The necklace hit the table with a cheap, hollow clink. Everything stopped. I slid documents across the polished surface. "Your stipend, Brandon, $18,000 a month. That was not profit sharing. It was an allowance." I tapped the page. "Your role was lifestyle liaison, a position I created to give you purpose. And as of noon today, that position no longer exists." His mouth opened, closed, opened again with nothing to say. The fantasy collapsed all at once. The car, the suits, the importance. "And finally," I said, sliding 2 additional papers forward, "the penthouse belongs to my trust. It always has. Your guest access has been revoked." "You can't do this," Cynthia sobbed. "We're family." "I am not throwing you onto the street," I replied coolly. "I am escorting you out of my building." The elevator chimed. Security stepped in, quiet and professional. "You have 10 minutes," I said. "Anything left behind will be donated." Brandon looked at me, stripped of every pretense. "Lexi, please, I love you." "No," I said, turning toward the window. I did not watch them pack. I listened. Boxes scraping across marble, fabric rustling into cardboard, Cynthia bargaining with air itself, demanding concessions from a universe that no longer owed her anything. "I need my vase," she insisted. "It's from Pier 1, I said. "Leave it." When they stood by the elevator, clutching cardboard boxes filled with the remnants of their performance, they looked diminished, smaller than I had ever seen them. "Where will we go?" Brandon whispered. "There's a motel off the interstate," I said. "Affordable." Cynthia spat the word like poison. "Affordable." "I am sending you to reality," I replied. The elevator closed. I felt relief, not triumph, like setting a weight I had carried so long I had forgotten it was part of my body. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Access denied. Unit 9001, user Brandon Hayes." Then a text from a number I recognized. "Chloe, so Brandon says there's a misunderstanding. Is he actually broke? I have other offers." I laughed once, typed a response. "Broke, fired, homeless, good luck." Blocked. Cynthia would attempt to pawn the heirlooms by morning. I pictured the appraiser's loop, the slow shake of the head, the truth landing like a slap across her carefully maintained face. Status is not transferable. Lies do not pay rent. Back in my office, the sun dipped low, painting the skyline in gold and violet and the deep purple of approaching night. I opened the security database. 2 profiles remained: Brandon Hayes, Cynthia Hayes. I tapped Brandon's file. Biometrics, access keys, his entire digital footprint inside my world. Delete. Confirmed. Then Cynthia. Delete. Confirmed. They vanished from the system as if they had never existed. The building exhaled. Some would call that loneliness. I call it space. I was not reclaiming a penthouse. I was reclaiming my mind, my identity, the woman I had buried beneath 5 years of performance for people who never deserved the show. I turned my phone camera toward the city, my reflection standing tall in the glass, backlit by a skyline I had reshaped with my own hands. I saved the photograph not for anyone else, but for myself. A folder labeled Renovations. Then I turned off the lights and headed home, to a home that was finally, completely, and irrevocably mine.